turn to St. Matthew chapter 21. St. Matthew chapter 21. St. Matthew chapter 21. I'll start reading at verse 12. St. Matthew chapter 21. And verse 12. And Jesus went into the temple of God, and cast out all them that sold and bought in the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers, and the seats of them that sold doves. And he said unto them, It is written, My house shall be called the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves. And the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. And when the chief priests and the scribes saw the wonderful things that he did, the children crying in the temple and saying, Hosanna to the Son of David, they were sore displeased. And he said unto him, Hearest thou what these say? And Jesus said unto them, Yea, have ye never read, out of the mouth of babes and sucklings thou hast perfected praise? And he left them and went out of the city into Bethany and lodged there. Stop there. Look at Mark chapter 11. Mark chapter 11. Verse 14. Verse 15. And they come to Jerusalem, and Jesus went into the temple and began to cast out them that sold and brought into the temple, and overthrew the tables of the money changers, and the seats of them that sold doves, and would not suffer that any man should carry any vessel through the temple. And he taught, saying unto them, Is it not written, My house shall be called of all nations the house of prayer, but ye have made it a den of thieves? And the scribes and the chief priests heard it, and sought how they might destroy him, for they feared him, because all the people were astonished at his doctrine. And when even was come, he went out of the city. I want to talk about money morals. Money morals. Does your morals determine how you handle your money? Or does your money determine your morals? How important is money to you? Will you do anything for a dollar? How much money does it take for you to lose your religion? It's like a man walked up to a lady and asked her to go to bed with him for $20. She said, What kind of lady you think I am? He said, What about for $10,000? She said, Come on, let's go. When they got in the room, he says, Suppose I just gave you 100 instead of 10,000. She said, But you think I'm a prostitute? He said, We already know what you are. We're just haggling on the price right now. You see, a lot of people have high standards as long as the price is not right. Some people will sell out their soul for the right amount. There are some people who derived the mentality that every person has their price. How much does it take for you to sell out? It's interesting to note that when you claim to follow Jesus, when you claim to be a follower of the Lamb, that there should be a certain integrity about you. There should be a certain desire for you to do what's right, no matter what the cost. One of the great tragedies of our world today is that we have too many folk who have made a god out of money. I asked the question Wednesday night, what day in the week do you think most robbery occurs? And got an answer like Friday, because people get paid on Friday, Saturday night, because of course everybody is at the club on Saturday night doing their thing, walking the streets, eating and whatever. And I don't have any statistical data to support it, but I surmise that most robberies occur on Sunday morning in church. When people of God who claim to love God, who claim that God is first on their list, steal God's money while he's looking at it. He asked the question, will a man rob God? And he didn't let you ask, he answered himself. Yeah. You rob me every time I look at it. He said, how have we robbed you, Lord? We love you, Lord. We wouldn't rob you. He says, in tithe and offerings. That's a bunch of folk right there. I want to look at this because this passage is one of my favorite passages, but I can't really focus on why I like it. I like it because it is the only passage in the Bible that depicts Jesus in another posture. You always like to make Jesus this little weak, timid, meek man that let people walk all over him. And in this passage, you don't see that Jesus. In fact, there is support for the fact that really he cleaned out the temple twice, because when John writes it, he writes it in chapter 2. It's right after he had turned water into wine. And some surmise that, it's just some kind of little misnomer, but I contend that he did it twice. But John tells us that he made cord, a whip of cord, and he actually chased them out of the temple. Yeah. This timid Jesus that y'all think everybody's supposed to step over, he ran them out the temple. He ran them out of church. And my question is, how many folk would Jesus run out of church today? How many would he run out today? I want to talk about the defiant and the deduction. The defiant and the deduction. The defiant and the deduction. There are some who would surmise that Jesus was a defiant one. I mean, after all, here is a carpenter from Nazareth in the temple, running folk out. No position, no title, no right as far as they're concerned. And he's taking charge by running people out of the temple who's doing what they had been doing for years. Right. That's some who figured he was defiant. But in actuality, Jesus said, no, the defiant ones are those persons who are misusing my Father's house. Right. All right. Jesus says, I'm really setting a standard. I have deduced that you have turned my Father's house that was intended to be a house of prayer into a den of thieves. What this got to do with finance? Well, it's amazing to me how we want God to bless us financially in our personal lives, but we have such demented mentality when it comes to how we handle God's money. And you can see more mishandling in church than anywhere else in the world. And we're supposed to be the standard for the rest of the world. I know y'all not going to shout today, and I'm going to preach it today. is he starts turning tables over. Yeah. He runs out those who bought and sold. That's a sermon right there. He didn't just run the sellers out. He ran out those who bought and sold. Because we like to point the finger in church. We always want to blame somebody else. But you need to understand that it's not just the sellers who are wrong. The folk who support that mess, you just as bad. You know. You're not. You always want to talk about people who sell hot stuff, but you want to talk about the fact you still buying it. They couldn't sell hot stuff and you wouldn't buy it. And you know, most hot stuff is purchased by church folk. When they break in your house to steal the very TV they sold you in the first place. Because God is true. Be not deceived. God is not mocked. Whatsoever man soweth, that shall he reap. Yes, self-buyers are just as bad as the South. You got something. It's real interesting to me. You know, you got this. Well, I'll deal with that later. You got this mentality that people have that we can get away with it, and if we get away with it, it's all right. He runs out to buyers and sellers. He kicks over the money changers. One writer says, "Well, I think that the preachers and other folk who interpret this passage talks about corruption is really misled because Jesus wasn't really talking about corruption. He was quoting a passage in Jeremiah." I say, well, you're out of your mind. I mean, just because he quoted a passage in Jeremiah does not suggest he's not pointing out the corruption. Right. And there's something wrong when you are corrupt anywhere, but it's worse when you are corrupt at church. When you sell a $3 chicken for $10. People come. All the time I get what they call fundraising ideas. And really to me is one of the biggest scams going, because what they do, they get the church to buy the junk at the price you should be selling it in the first place. But then they tell you to sell it at some balloon rate, knowing you can prostitute the folk because you ain't gonna do it in the name of the Lord. And we look at our financial condition in the world today, and you, like I said, you don't just blame the sellers, I blame buyers too. When this mess is too high, you ain't got no business buying mess too high. Well, you got to buy it, Brad. No, you do not. You can leave it on the shelf. And I guarantee you, leave the mess on the shelf, it will go on sale. I just bought some $6 bluebell for $3.88 at Alice. Now I'm really trying to get it down to $2.50, but y'all won't help me. Because I used to get 2 for $5. It's the whole thing about supply and demand. They got that mess in the shelf and it's getting old and the termination date is close. They will put it at the price that you can afford. But as long as you got to talk about we got to buy it, what gets me, we ain't talking about millionaires saying they got to buy it. That's y'all buying that stuff. All right. Folk who can at least afford it, paying all those high prices. All right. And don't follow nobody in the store that's got a welfare basket. responsibility for the condition of where things are. And Jesus looked and he evaluated and he says, my house was intended, my Father's house was intended to be a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of thieves. Now, you know, I don't believe it, but there's some folks who still got a problem with the fact that we don't sell at our church. Well, Reverend, you sold some tickets. And you know, there's this thing whereby you try to, like I let them sell DVDs, because you're trying to provide some church media, because you can't really put it on the shelf at the store, because it would be, you know, if you have, what's the latest rock group, R&B, whatever. Y'all don't know. Get the kids. Get somebody from other. Bunch of squares. Don't even know that. I ain't supposed to know. I'm a preacher, man. You're supposed to know. And then you wonder why we can't get young folks to come out of shit. But if you know, if they can buy something secular or something religious, they're gonna buy the secular every time. Yeah. They'll pay $25 for a CD or a DVD in the world. CD. And you can't get them to pay $5 for one at church. Amen. The songs you hear here, the music you hear in this church is some of the best music in the world, and you get it for free. Amen. But you won't pay $5 on a DVD. And they infringe on my copyright rights every Sunday. They sell my sermons, I don't get a dime. I got a problem with that. As long as the gospel being spread. Because some people will buy a CD for the songs, and they can't get to it. The match stop when the sermon comes on. They turn it on when the song was on, John. They start taking a shower, and before they knew it, the sermon, oh man.